What's up, Transit? Oh my goodness, welcome to summer. We've been so excited to kick off summer with you guys. Sixth graders in the room, welcome to Transit. We are so excited, seriously, about hanging out with you for the next 3 years. My name is Stuart. I'm one of the pastors here in Transit, so we're going to be hanging. We're going to be hanging for the next 3 years, seventh graders, 2 more years, eighth graders, 1 more year before you're in high school, which seems pretty crazy if you ask me. So if it's your first time with us, we just want to say welcome. We're really, really glad that you're here. We're glad that you're starting your summer with us. I'm going to start us off with a little game that I call What's the Point? Because we ask this about a lot of things in life. And so I'm just going to invite you to tell me what's the point of these next few things, and then we'll get to the point of playing the game. All right, are you ready? Okay. What's the point of an airport? To fly. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the point to fly. Like, the plane is the one that actually gets you there. The airport, I guess the point of the airport is to gather people who are going to arrive and depart. I don't know. All right. What's the point of the post office? Wait, who in this room, leaders excluded, okay? What students in this room have ever stepped foot in a post office? Wow, it was like a field trip or something? What were you doing in there? Oh, man, it's been a long time. Okay, what's the point of Amazon? To ship. That's good. To buy stuff. The point of Amazon, well, you can buy stuff everywhere, so it's got to be something different. Hannah? What do you think? Yeah, I'm looking at you, Hannah. What do you think? I mean, there's something about it that I guess it connects like manufacturers and companies to buyers and is a platform for them to make that transaction. You really got to think about it. When you think about the point of something, you immediately think, oh, the point's to buy stuff. Well, you can buy stuff everywhere. There are specific reasons that things exist, and sometimes it's not quite what your first answer is as you think through it. What's the point of Starbucks? To make us happy? It's not, I think it has the ability to do that. I don't think that's the point. But yeah, it could be a gathering place for you. It could be a working place for an adult in your life. It could be a meetup place, a caffeination place. I don't know. I guess it has a lot of different purposes or points. Well, all right, last one, which is the point of today. What is the point of transit? Why is Jesus always, it's pretty close to the answer to a lot of things. He is a significant part of the point of transit. It would not exist without him, certainly. Oh, that's a pretty good answer. I'm hearing some good answers. So we're going to look at a story of a boy named Josiah. And in his life and in his story, we can see and identify why transit exists, why we've created this place for you. Now, sixth graders, you only caught the third part of our Bible series that we just did, but it was actually 3 parts, so seventh and eighth graders, a little quiz for you to talk to you about when Josiah lived, okay? Now, who remembers what the name of the first 5 books of the Bible are? That's the first 4 books of the New Testament. That's close. What do we call that group? We call them the Pentateuch. Wow, we didn't use that term, but that's actually true. The law, because we call it the law, and sometimes it's called the law of Moses, because in those things, God actually gave Moses and his people a picture, some rules and guidelines and laws of how they should live, how their lives should look different than the people around them, the things that set them apart from all other people. And where those people, as he gave them to Moses, as they were in the wilderness, and then they get to, what happens is, then they get to the promised land, this place that is modern-day Israel, and we're going to look at a map here of modern-day Israel, and what happened was, those rules, the laws, were given as, it's kind of like the first version of the Bible. The people who lived in that next section, which are biblical history, and then the poetry and the prophets, the people who lived in all those times, even into Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, their Bible, before the New Testament came along, really was the law of Moses. The scripture was those first 5 books of the Bible that God had given Moses. And he gave them, and this is the promised land that God had sent his people. So if you hear about them coming out of Egypt and parting the Red Sea, they came up here, and it used to be one big country, Israel, for the first 3 kings. Now you can learn about that after the law come the history books, and we learn about the history of these judges and these kings. And the first 3 kings were led all of Israel. And it was King Saul was the first one. And then King David was the second one. Like from David and Goliath, the country was still together. And then King Solomon, the wise one who wrote Proverbs, one of the wisest people to ever live. He was the third one. And then the country split in 2. And it split into, in this north part, the blue part is Israel, and the bottom part is Judah. And this is where we meet Josiah. In 2 Kings, he's one of the kings along after it was split. And Josiah's grandfather had been king and was not a good king and was not following the law and was not following God. And one part that God said is, hey, I'm going to give you this as a guide because of what I want for you. But if you don't follow it, there will be consequences. And so they were experiencing turmoil and enemies coming and attacking them and things that God said, hey, if you will follow the law that I've given you for the life that I want for you, if you will believe that I am a loving Father who wants what's best for you and you follow what I have for you, then you'll be blessed. But they weren't, not by Josiah's grandfather. And then Josiah's father came along, and Josiah's father didn't either. In fact, the craziest thing, they lost the law. Not only were they not following it, they didn't even care what it was. They didn't even have their hands on it. There was no chance of being able to follow and believe what God had given them. And then Josiah, when he was 8 years old, this is crazy, and it's really sad. When Josiah was 8 years old, his dad died. And he's the heir to the throne. So younger than any of you, if you can think back to when you were 8 years old and all of a sudden your dad dies and you become king of all of Judah at 8 years old. I mean, it was a crazy time in his life. And things were not going well because of the choices that his dad and his grandfather had made. And he had led for a number of years, and then at one point he sent some people who worked for him out into the area of Judah to collect some money and some different things and bring them back to him. And as they did, as they were going into all the area, guess what they found? They found the law. They found their scriptures. And they brought it back, and they were like, Josiah, yo. Probably didn't say that. Like, Josiah, King Josiah, you got to check this out. This, in fact, in here, God's guidance and instruction and laws for us will turn our lives and our country around if we're willing to believe in him and we're willing to follow him. And so Josiah has this in his hands, and he has to decide, do I believe this? Do I believe this? Do I believe what's in the law? Do I believe that God has a good plan for my life? Will I follow God's plan for me and for my people, even though my father didn't, even though my grandfather didn't? And what's cool is that Josiah made a decision that his father and his grandfather did not. And he said, yes, I believe that God, the creator of the universe, wants what's good for me and my people, and I will follow him. Josiah began, as he finally got his hands on the lost law, the lost scriptures, began to have a faith of his own. One that his parents didn't have, not his friends. As the king, he was left not only to lead himself, but his people. And there's this cool verse about the reflection of Josiah's life after he chose to follow him. This is 2 Kings 23:25. It says, neither before nor after Josiah was there a king like him who turned to the Lord as he did, with all of his heart and with all of his soul and with all of his strength, in according with all of, there it is, the law of Moses. He said, I believe this, and I am going to follow. And you and I, we have the same opportunity that Josiah had. It's literally why transit exists. What's the point? What's the point of transit? It's to give you an opportunity to make the same decision that Josiah made, to discover and to pursue a faith of your own. Not your parents' faith, not your grandparents' faith, not your friends' faith, not your small group leader's faith, not your siblings' faith, your faith. It's a decision that Josiah had, and we learn no king was ever like him before. God has a good plan for your life, and we want this to be a place where you can discover who he is, and the way that as you place your faith in him and choose to follow him, the way that it can change your middle school experience forever and your life forever, your relationships forever. God will never stop pursuing you. And this is a place where we want to encourage you to pursue him, to discover who he is. And the place where we think that happens the most is not the games at the beginning. It's not the songs, although the songs remind us of who God is and what he's done for us. It's not even just me up here or whoever is going to be up here giving a message to you. It's what happens after this. It's in small group. 6th graders, the adults, the high school students who are sitting to your left and your right, they have committed the next 3 years of their lives to walk with you, to help you discover and pursue a faith of your own. The point of them choosing to volunteer to do this week after week, camp after camp, and to be there for you is so that you can ask the questions you want to ask. That this is a safest place where you can talk about anything. You can go to those adults, those high school students, and nothing is off limits. You can belong here before you ever believe. We want it to be a process of discovering who he is and how he loves you, but that is the point of transit. And so small group is a place where we really believe that as those relationships develop, that's a place where you can ask questions, where you can talk about it, not just about your faith, but also about anything that happens to be going on. 8th graders, 7th graders, y'all know that this year is going to be different than last year, and it's going to bring new challenges and new conflicts and new questions. And that's why the people who are sitting beside you have committed the time that they have to create a place where you can talk about it.